Hi everybody, welcome on this rainy Thursday here in Florida. My name is Katie, I'm 48 years old, and I am sharing my journey, my weight loss journey this year. As I promised in an earlier episode this week, in my last update, I think I told you guys that I was going to be seeing my doctor this week for an update. It's been I guess it's been 8 months now since I've been with them in particular. I mean, I've been losing weight since January, but I didn't start with this doctor's office until the end of January, beginning February. So anyway, so we have been following up every month to 2 months with both the physician and with her physician assistant that I will see. So I've been following up very regularly with them, but I haven't had any blood work done since January, and so today she wanted to do that and just kind of see how things are going now that I'm down, over 90 pounds. Still have a little ways to go, but I guess wanted to kind of check up and see how things were going. So one thing real quick is this clinic that I go to is amazing. I remember the old days when you would go to a Quest or a LabCorp and you would sit there for hours and hours, and they had appointments, but they were kind of more like a guideline. And anyway, this place is run like a tight ship. It's super fast and the results come in same day for a lot of this stuff. So it's pretty cool. So I got my blood drawn before the appointment, and then by the time I had the appointment, the results were already in the system. So she just checked basically like cholesterol and then some other blood markers today. I think it was called a metabolic panel. I should have written it down, I'm sorry. Anyway, so this is pretty interesting for me because I've never really done a carnivore diet before, and I've certainly never taken a GLP-1 medication before. So I was not at all sure what to expect with my results and with my numbers. I have heard a lot of people on carnivore actually have pretty high cholesterol, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. And so I was a little worried that maybe my numbers would get worse instead of better. And so so I was very interested to see how this was going to come out. So let's just go straight to it. So my total cholesterol in January was 238, which from what I hear is really not that terrible. I mean, it's higher than what the official guidelines are, I think, but I see a lot of people who have, way higher than that, and they're saying that it's really fine. So I don't really know, but anyway, so it was 238 to begin with, and it's still technically in the high range now, but it has come down to 221. So obviously, I guess that's an improvement, we would say, depending on how your stance is on cholesterol numbers. I'm not too concerned about it. I have seen so much conflicting information now from physicians and cardiologists and all this kind of stuff, that this high cholesterol scare, stuff is really not all that it's really cracked up to be. And it's really not as critical to be lower. And in fact, there's a lot of functions that your body absolutely depends on cholesterol for. So sometimes lower cholesterol can actually be linked with higher risk of certain things. So I'm not too worried about it, but I guess from my perspective, I just don't want my doctor on my back like all the time, or forcing me to try to take statins, which I will not do. So anyway, I guess it's going in the right direction. She wasn't concerned about it in general. And I guess, like I said, we're going at least in the right direction there. My HDL was 53, and that's actually gone down to 45, which is not the direction I know that one is supposed to go. So I'm not really sure. Again, she wasn't really worried about it or concerned. But I think that's one that I'll kind of keep an eye on, because I do think that that's supposed to be one that you want it to be higher. My LDL was 162, and now it's 153. So again, in the right direction, but not necessarily as much movement as I might have hoped. Although again, like I said, better than going in the other direction, which is what I was afraid I was going to do. The cholesterol to HDL ratio was 4.5 and it actually went up to 4.9. So I think that's the wrong direction for that number. I wasn't really sure what the number is on that one that you're looking for, but what I found online is that it should be 3.5 or less for women. So not great news there, I guess, but again, she wasn't really concerned. And then my triglycerides only changed slightly. They were 112 before and they went down to 110. So she wasn't concerned about it. I'm not totally concerned about cholesterol. I'm glad that most of it is going in the right direction. I assume that at some point when I'm leveling out and I'm on maintenance and I'm not losing weight anymore, that these numbers are going to shuffle around a little bit. And certainly if I start changing my diet, if I don't stay as strict keto or if I don't stay strict carnivore, those numbers can certainly settle into different places. And in the future soon, I'm going to be adding in more regular exercise as well. And I know that can also help with that kind of thing. There was some weird numbers that they had in the other panel. And it came out that my potassium and my calcium were very, very slightly high, like 0.1 over the little range that they had. And my CO2 was low. So I don't know if there's any, medical people on here who can understand what that is. I work with a nurse and I asked her and, she looked at the numbers and said that it really was not concerning to her, especially based on everything else. But my doctor does want me to redo that one. So I have to go back to the lab next week and just redo that just to see, if it was just a fluke or a quirk or something. I don't know. I mean, the doctor didn't say you should be doing this or you should be doing that. I do take some potassium in my electrolytes that I drink. I don't take any calcium at all, so I'm not sure why my calcium would be high. I could see why potassium might be just because I drink electrolytes all day long, including potassium, so it may be that I am getting too much of those, but I'm not really sure, and I have no idea about CO2. So anyway, so we will do maybe, I'll probably wrap that up in my next sort of like weekly update, unless there's something concerning in there. They did ask me if I wanted to do this little body scan that they had in their office. I think it's a new body analyzer, body composition analyzer that they have. And it's probably akin to if you have a body pod, or a Renpho scale or one of those things. It's probably not anywhere near as accurate by any means as a DEXA. And it really does not give anywhere near as much information either, but it was only going to cost me $30 instead of like whatever hundreds of dollars a DEXA scan is. So at some point I do want to invest in a DEXA scan, but that's just kind of a lot for me right now. So this is kind of a beginning just to get an idea of where we are. So I did it. So I stepped on her little body scan thing and it doesn't actually have all that much information. So I guess you get what you pay for. Interestingly enough, they have my body fat percentage as 45.5%, which is definitely higher than I thought at this point. I know I have more weight to lose. I mean, I'm not under any delusions that I don't, but I did not expect to be that high. She is concerned. I guess I have fairly low muscle mass at this point. They do right arm, left arm, torso, right leg, left leg, or whatever. So I guess I am pretty not where they want me to be, obviously. I think my total skeletal muscle mass is 19.58 kilograms. I have no idea how many pounds that is. And my fat mass is almost double that. It's 37.33 kilograms. Now, I'm not 100% sure that I think that this is accurate because I am in some lipedema groups and there's some discussion about how the impedance works when you carry like all of your fat mass in your lower body or like almost all of your fat mass in your lower body. And it may be that those kind of scans are not as accurate because they're really not the way they work, maybe not taking into account that you're pretty lean, up here, and it may be estimating that based on what it found down here is what it's going to be up here. I don't know for sure. Maybe it is accurate, but it was kind of that was kind of shocking to me. And she does want me to start doing weight training, and I really just don't want to yet. I know that muscle is absolutely critical, and I 100% am going to incorporate weight training and muscle building into my routine on a regular basis for the rest of my life. I actually even really enjoy weight training. I really do. But I have tried so many times over the years to lose fat and gain muscle at the same time, and it is so hard. It's so slow, and it's so aggravating, and it's like you're making teeny tiny little gains here and there, and your weight stays the same, and your fat doesn't really go down appreciably, and your muscle, I mean, I am almost a 50-year-old woman. How much muscle mass do you think I'm going to be able to gain in a short period of time? Like, it is going to take me a year to put on a few pounds of muscle, even if I'm working at it hard every day and eating, you know, at a maintenance level or a surplus or something like that. Like, I'm in perimenopause. I am not in the stage of life where you can just like pile on the muscle mass, okay? And I have, in my perspective, a long time to be able to work on that before my body is going to fall apart. I really, really want to get that body fat percentage down. And again, I know you can change the percentage by increasing muscle mass, but how much muscle mass do you really think I'm going to gain in the next 6 months? Okay. It's a couple of pounds. Like, it's not going to be like 10, 15, 20 pounds of muscle. Like, that's not how this works. I estimate, I don't even know, but it's going to be a few pounds of muscle maybe if I really, really work at it hard. Whereas most of this is excess fat that I need to get rid of, right? Like, yes, I need to add some muscle. I need to bring the fat down. And for me, I really want to focus on that first. And so, you know, I'm taking her advice to heart. I understand that muscle is crucial. Like, it's not just important. It is critical, crucial, absolutely non-negotiable part of being a healthy person is, if you can, exercising and getting muscle mass. Now, some people can't, and that's fine. You know, you may have limitations that don't allow you to do it, and you know, that's okay. You can still have a good, healthy, happy life. But I know to have my best life, I know that I do need to focus on weight training and muscle building and all that kind of stuff. And I'm more than happy to do it later. So, you know, I'm going to see her in another 4 months, and we'll see. I have to follow up with the physician assistant in a month, and you know, we'll see how it all goes. Maybe I'll do another one of these. Maybe I'll refuse and say I want to wait a little bit longer to do it until I've had more of a chance. But I really think I'm going to make more progress in terms of improving that body fat percentage by losing as much fat mass as I can in the next couple of months. These medications sometimes have a window of success where you can lose the weight and then they sometimes stop. Not for everybody. Some people just keep going and going, but there's definitely growing evidence that for some people there's a window. And if you don't take advantage of the weight loss and the fat loss while you can, you know, you end up stuck and you end up not moving anywhere. And I don't want to be in that position. You know, this is definitely a project that's going to take me the rest of my life, you know, in terms of my health and my weight maintenance. And I take it seriously that way. But this medication is kind of like my golden ticket. This is like my last chance, I feel like, to lose the weight. I want to get it lost. I want to do as much as I can, certainly safely and as healthfully as I can. But I just know from a lot of personal experience with weight loss and weight training that I've done in the past year after year after year that it's much, much easier for me to get down closer to a healthy body fat percentage and then do a body recomp from there, which has been my plan as I've discussed in other videos. So she may not be happy with me, but that's kind of what I'm still thinking of at this point, is that I'm still going to try to lose the next 10 to 15 pounds, bring some of that body fat percentage down. And if you're worried about me, I want to tell you, don't worry about me. Yes, I'm sure that I have lost muscle mass. That is what happens with every kind of major weight loss, no matter how you do it. But there is scientific evidence out there that a ketogenic diet and a state of ketosis and having ketones in your system is muscle protective. So if you're going to be losing weight and a lot of weight, being on a ketogenic diet is probably one of the best ways to protect your muscle mass from being used, because your body is going to protect the muscles that it has, and it's going to utilize the fat for fuel, mobilize the fat for fuel when you're in that state. Whereas when you're eating a lot of carbohydrates and you have a lot of insulin in your system, your body cannot use the fat that's in storage, or it can't do it very easily, and so it's going to tap into the muscle mass stores because it has to burn something. So again, with a ketogenic diet, it protects the muscle mass, it mobilizes the fat for fuel, there's low insulin in your body, so you're not in fat storage mode, you're in fat mobilization mode, and so that's what your body is going to use as a priority fuel over the protein that you have in your muscles. So don't worry about me. Again, I'm sure I have lost muscle mass. That happens with everyone, but I'm not worried that I'm about to, break in half or fall over. I'm doing fine. So that was a little bit longer than I meant to do. I'm sorry. I hope some of you stuck with me for this little update that I did. And like I said, I think for the other blood numbers that were sort of wonky and weird, I'll probably just wrap that up into my next weekly update that I do after I get those done. So anyway, I hope y'all are having a wonderful week, and I will talk to you later for my weekend update. Have a great day. Bye-bye.